Francesco Castiglia, later known as Frank Costello, was born in Laropoli, Italy, in 1891. Laropoli, a small village nestled in the Calabrian hills, was a place where time seemed to stand still, with its cobblestone streets and rustic charm. Life in Calabria was harsh. Poverty was widespread. Opportunity was scarce. The land was unforgiving, and many families struggled to make ends meet, relying on subsistence farming and occasional labor. Francesco's family, like many others, saw America as a beacon of hope. The promise of a better life, of opportunities that were unimaginable in their homeland, drove them to make the arduous journey across the Atlantic. They immigrated to New York City in 1895 seeking a better life. The bustling city, with its towering buildings and endless possibilities, was a stark contrast to the quiet, rural life they had left behind. They settled in East Harlem, a neighborhood teeming with Italian immigrants. It was a place where the old world met the new, where traditions were upheld even as new ways of life were adopted. East Harlem was a tough place. The streets were crowded, the tenements were cramped, and the struggle to survive was evident in every corner. It was a melting pot of cultures, but also a breeding ground for poverty and crime. The mix of different backgrounds and the harsh realities of urban life created a volatile environment. Young Francesco, now Frank, quickly learned the ways of the streets. The lessons he learned were not from books, but from the daily grind of survival. He joined his older brother, Edward, in petty crimes. Together, they navigated the dangerous underbelly of the city, learning the ropes of street life. The brothers ran with a gang. It was a way to find protection, to belong, and to carve out a place in the chaotic world they found themselves in. They called themselves the 104th Street Gang. This gang became their family, their support system in a world that offered little else. Frank was smart and ambitious. He had a keen mind and a natural ability to lead, qualities that set him apart from his peers. He quickly rose through the ranks of the gang. His intelligence and ambition did not go unnoticed, and he soon found himself in positions of influence. He understood that real power lay in organization, in connections, in knowing the right people. Frank's ability to network and build alliances would become one of his greatest strengths. His early experiences in the 104th Street Gang would prove to be a valuable apprenticeship in the unforgiving world he was about to enter. The skills he honed and the lessons he learned would serve him well in the years to come. The streets of East Harlem had become his classroom, and crime, his education. It was here that Frank Costello began to shape his destiny, laying the foundation for the notorious figure he would eventually become. Frank Costello wasn't interested in petty theft. He saw bigger opportunities, more lucrative ventures. He delved into the world of gambling, quickly understanding its intricacies and potential for profit. He also realized that violence, while sometimes necessary, was a tool best used strategically. He preferred negotiation, influence, and the power of fear. Costello's intelligence didn't go unnoticed. He caught the eye of more established criminals, men who saw his potential. He began working with the Morello crime family, one of the earliest and most powerful mafia families in New York. This marked a turning point in his life, a step towards the upper echelons of organized crime. He learned the ropes of the underworld. He participated in bootlegging operations during Prohibition. He forged alliances and made enemies. His reputation as a shrewd operator grew. Costello understood that power wasn't just about muscle. It was about influence, connections, and the ability to manipulate the system. The 1920s roared with the sound of jazz and the clinking of glasses in hidden speakeasies. Prohibition was in full swing, making the sale and consumption of alcohol illegal across the United States. Despite the ban, the demand for alcohol was higher than ever, leading to a thriving black market. This created a golden opportunity for ambitious gangsters like Frank Costello, who saw a chance to capitalize on the situation. Costello envisioned building an empire that would dominate the underworld and extend its influence far beyond. He partnered with some of the most notorious criminals of the era, including the infamous Charles Lucky Luciano, to achieve his goals. Costello was a master strategist, always thinking several steps ahead of his rivals. He understood the critical importance of forming strategic alliances to strengthen his position. To control the city, he knew he needed to work with other gangs, creating a network of cooperation and mutual benefit. Costello played a key role in orchestrating the formation of the National Crime Syndicate, a powerful coalition of criminal organizations. This was a pivotal moment in the history of organized crime, bringing together different factions under a united front, changing the landscape forever. Costello's influence extended beyond the underworld, reaching into the realms of politics and business. He cultivated relationships with politicians, judges, and businessmen, ensuring he had powerful allies in high places. Using these connections to his advantage, Costello secured favors and protection, making him nearly untouchable. He became known as the Prime Minister of the Underworld, a title that reflected his immense power and influence. Frank Costello was the man who could get things done, the fixer, the power broker, and the ultimate strategist of his time. The Castellamarese War, a bloody conflict between two factions of the mafia, erupted in the early 1930s. Costello saw an opportunity in the chaos. He aligned himself with Lucky Luciano, a rising star in the underworld, who shared his vision for a modern organized mafia. The war ended with the assassination of old guard bosses like Joe Masseria and Salvatore Maranzano. Luciano emerged as the dominant figure, with Costello as his trusted advisor. They restructured the mafia, forming the Commission, a council designed to maintain order and prevent future conflicts. This new era marked a shift in the mafia's operations. Costello, with his sharp mind for business, steered them towards more lucrative and less risky ventures like gambling, unions, and legitimate businesses. He understood that true power lay not just in brute force, but in infiltrating the very fabric of society. Section 5. The Power of Connections. Politicians, judges, and fixers on speed dial. Frank Costello understood that true power wasn't just about muscle and intimidation. It was about influence. He cultivated relationships with people in all walks of life: politicians, judges, policemen, businessmen. He had a knack for making people feel important, for knowing their weaknesses and exploiting them to his advantage. He had judges and cops on his payroll. He used his influence to fix trials, secure permits, and silence potential threats. He donated generously to charities and political campaigns, ensuring that he always had friends in high places. Costello's influence reached the highest levels of New York City government. He was a close confidant of Mayor William O'Dwyer, who allegedly relied on Costello for political support. This relationship gave Costello immense power and protection, allowing him to operate with near impunity. In the early 1950s, Senator Estes Kefauver led a series of televised hearings into organized crime. These hearings captivated the nation, exposing the mafia's inner workings to the public for the first time. Costello was subpoenaed to testify. He knew this was a dangerous situation. Testifying could incriminate him, but refusing to cooperate could lead to contempt charges. He chose a middle ground, agreeing to testify but only on certain topics. Costello's testimony was a pivotal moment in the hearings. Millions watched on television. He attempted to present himself as a legitimate businessman, but his evasive answers and nervous demeanor betrayed his true nature. Though his testimony didn't lead to any direct charges, it further solidified his image as a powerful mob boss in the public eye. Section 7. Costello's fall, internal strife, and a bullet that changed everything. The Kefauver hearings may have increased public awareness of organized crime, but they also brought unwanted scrutiny. Law enforcement agencies were under pressure to act. The mafia's grip on power began to weaken. Internally, tensions were brewing. Vito Genovese, a ruthless mobster who had been deported to Italy, returned to New York and challenged Costello's leadership. A power struggle ensued, culminating in an assassination attempt on Costello's life. In 1957, Costello was shot in the head outside his apartment building. He survived the attack, but the incident shook him deeply. It was a sign that his time at the top was coming to an end. He realized that even he wasn't untouchable. Section 8. Legacy of the Prime Minister, Respect, Fear, and the End of an Era. The shooting marked a significant turning point for Frank Costello. It was a moment that would forever alter the trajectory of his life and career. Following the attempt on his life, Costello gradually withdrew from the day-to-day operations of the mafia. He began to cede control to his ambitious rival, Vito Genovese, who was eager to take the reins. Despite stepping back, Costello remained a respected figure within the organization. He took on the role of a consigliere, offering advice and guidance. But his era of absolute power was undeniably over. Costello's reign marked a distinct and transformative period in the history of the American Mafia. His leadership style and strategic thinking set him apart from his predecessors. He represented a transition from the brutal, old-world style of gangsters like Al Capone to a more sophisticated, business-minded approach. This shift had a lasting impact on organized crime in America. Costello understood the importance of political influence, public image, and diversifying criminal enterprises. He was a pioneer in blending crime with legitimate business ventures. He died of a heart attack in 1973 at the age of 82. It was a relatively peaceful end for a man who had lived a life shrouded in violence, power struggles, and intrigue. Frank Costello left behind a complex legacy, a mixture of ruthlessness and cunning that cemented his place as one of the most influential figures in organized crime. His story remains a testament to the intricate and often paradoxical nature of power. Section 9. Frank Costello, the last vestige of a bygone underworld. Frank Costello's story is a reminder of a time when organized crime held a powerful grip on American society. He was a master manipulator, a shrewd businessman, and a ruthless criminal who navigated the treacherous waters of the underworld with cunning and ambition. His life, from the streets of East Harlem to the pinnacle of mafia power, reads like a classic gangster movie. But it was very real, a testament to the dark underbelly of the American dream. Frank Costello, the Prime Minister of the Underworld, died in 1973. But his story continues to fascinate, a cautionary tale of ambition, corruption, and the seductive allure of power. He remains an enduring figure, a symbol of a bygone era when men like him held sway over cities, influenced politics, and lived by their own set of rules.